There it is. I am live. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Actually, good afternoon now. It's 1:29. If you're on the West Coast, good morning. East Coast, good afternoon. If you're in South Carolina, hey, y'all. We're here. Part of my daily process is to listen to books or read books. And I'm in this mode right now where I'm reading a lot of books that are written by ministers. Nothing wrong with it, just what I'm doing. It's where I'm focusing because they have some really interesting messages, and a lot of them are about how we live our lives and how sometimes giving ourselves to God necessarily doesn't mean avow poverty, but to be the best we can possibly be. And one of the books I'm reading right now, Chasing the Lion, the man talks about a guy named Wilson Allen Bentley. Bentley lived in Vermont from the late 1800s till 1931 when he passed. But at a very young age, his mother, who was a teacher, gave him a microscope. And Bentley started looking at, because he lived in Vermont, he started looking at snowflakes under the microscope and realized that they were very complex structures and none of them were the same. And then he found out that there was a contraption you could put onto the microscope to take pictures. So Bentley produced over 5,000 pictures of snowflakes, no two alike. So that got me thinking as I'm listening to the book, you know what? What else in the universe is different? What else in the world is different? God's creation, there's almost nothing that is exactly the same from something else that's similar to it. For instance, leaves on a tree, they look similar. But if you get a good close look at them, they have different structures, different veins, different sizes, different, you name it. Trees themselves, the same type of tree might look the same, but it's going to have a different structure in terms of how many branches, where the branches are located, all of that. This is what happens when I sit and listen to these books. And then it clicked in my head. Well, wait a minute. We are from nature. We're from nature. So does that mean that we're all different? Well, I would answer that question, heck yes. I don't know about you. Maybe you could answer that for me. Because truthfully, I would answer it, heck yes. We are all different. There are no two of us, even identical twins, who are exactly alike. They're awful darn close, but there's always something different about them. How interesting is that? Think about that. You are the only you in the whole world. And it kind of cracks me up because they talk about individualism. They talk about being unique. They talk about all this. But guess what? Put all that aside, guys, because guess what? You are unique. You are an individual. You are the only one of you ever made. Let that sink in. You are the only one of you. Even if there's somebody in the world who's just like you, there's differences. And as time goes on, there's even more. So when I think about that, I think about how we spend our lives. And I think that how much of our lives are wasted chasing being like somebody else. Bentley showed us that snowflakes don't chase each other. They don't care. They just form, however they're formed. And I'm not saying that we can't mold ourselves and we can't shape ourselves and we can't be more. But what I'm saying is that we shouldn't use a comparative world to do that. Competitive, maybe, to a degree, but comparative, no. Because everyone's different. Everything is different. Every situation is different. Everybody's world is different. And yes, people can reach a certain level in business or in success or in life. And it may appear that they all have the same level of whatever, but sometimes they don't. And you know something else? Money doesn't buy happiness. How many times have you heard that? And part of the problem is that we focus so much on money and gaining money and making more money and making more money and I have to make money. And we're not focused on being successful and letting the money come after. One of the books I read by Edwin Raphael McManus, he talked about that, about a woman who wanted to do something, and she said, but God said I shouldn't do it. And he asked her, well, how do you know God said you can't do it? She said, well, because he didn't provide me the money to do it. And McManus said, that's not how this works. The money comes later. The money comes after you do the work, not before. So if you have something on your heart that you think you need to do, start. Because nobody else can do that but you. You may think that other people can do it, but here's a great example. Kind of a weird example, but when you go into a grocery store and you walk into the bread aisle, how many different breads are there? How many different flavors? How many different styles? How many different brand names? How many different companies? They all do it differently, but they do the same thing, sort of, right? They make bread. So if you take it down to brass tacks, they make bread. I'll give you another good example. Cell phones. They might all look the same on the outside, and they don't, because there's all different companies, all different brands, a couple of Apples, right? But everybody has different apps on their phone. Everybody has different things on their home screen. Everybody has different lock pass codes. And guess what? They use facial recognition to get in the phone. So if somebody looks like me, they could use my phone, but I haven't seen anybody using my phone but me. So in essence, you are, and it's going to sound funny because it's a derogatory term sometimes, but I don't agree with that either. But you are snowflakes, guys. You're individuals. You stand out all by yourself. And if you let anybody else melt that snow from you, then you are the one who's triggered, and you're the one who's letting other people run your life. You are the master of your destiny. Like I said this morning, man, everything you thought before, every thought you had until today led you to where you are. Think about that. Every thought you had. They said I can't do it, so I can't do it. This happened. I can't do that. I'm so sad. My tire went flat this morning. I drive Joan nuts because guess what? Not much bothers me. Some things do. But for the most part, things don't bother me. I can't control other people. I can react to what they do. And my reaction is going to determine my outcome, right? Do I become violent? Well, what's that going to prove? We had this discussion with my brother the other day. What's that going to prove? Nothing. So just know this, that there are no two people in the world who are exactly the same, which means you are special. And like I said the other day, you're wonderful. You don't even know it. You're not even aware of how wonderful you are, because you're so worried about what everybody else thinks of you that you're not being you. Don't worry about what they think of you. People made fun of my hat. Do I care? No. It was funny to me. Be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else, because guess what? When you try to be somebody else, you give yourself up and you're not who you're intended to be. All right, guys. Have a great day. Have a great life. Be who you are. And that is an incredible individual. Love yous, and I'll talk to you later. And I have